Hi, I'm Leo Finelli, and you're listening to Generation Change.
Well, we're halfway through 2022, and for our July episode, we have an interview with Xander Martin. Xander is a 13-year-old, non-binary, theater-obsessed queer rights activist from Bowie, Maryland, who co-founded the Bowie area Transgender and Non-Binary Youth Alliance with their mom in 2019. I talked to Xander about coming out, self-discovery, and our shared love of musical theater. Enjoy our conversation.
So it is so nice to be talking with you today. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
When did you first realize you were non-binary?
I felt different my whole life, but I first realized that I was non-binary in the second grade.
Did you know the word non-binary, and were you able to call it that in second grade? Or did you not know what you could call it?
At first, I didn't know what I could call it, but as I started doing research, finding more people or kids like me, I slowly learned what the word was and what it meant.
So I have this segment I call Drop the Pin. And so you grew up in Bowie, Maryland, which is just down the road from Crofton, which is where my dad grew up. What is that place like as you see it and you experience it?
To me, it's just the city where I grew up, where I've lived most of my life. And I know where some of the safe places or safe havens for me are.
Do you feel like there are enough safe spaces in Bowie for you to be happy? Or might you feel more at home somewhere else where there were more safe spaces?
I feel like there's a good amount of safe spaces. If there could be more, I would be happy, but I am still happy with the amount of safe spaces here in Bowie.
Yeah. And how did you feel about coming out as non-binary to your school friends and teachers?
Well, I first came out to my second grade math and reading teachers, who were and still to this day are very supportive. When I first came out to my whole school in the fourth grade, I was really nervous because I wasn't just doing it to like one or two people at a time. I did it to the whole school. And when I came out to the whole school, I was very nervous. And there were a few people who did bully me or misgender me on purpose, but felt there were more people who were supportive of me than those who bullied me.
Yeah. So how have the other kids and teachers at school, both elementary school and now in middle school, how have they included and accommodated you? What could they be doing better, if anything?
In elementary school, one of my teachers constantly misgendered me on purpose. I reminded that teacher, my parents reminded that teacher, but he still constantly misgendered me. So I felt that at my old school, they could have tried to not misgender me as much. Or
when the people at your old school misgendered you, were there also kids who stuck up for you?
Yes, there were a lot of kids who still stuck up for me.
Yeah. The big purple barn, and as one of your safe spaces, what is it and what is it like, and why do you consider it a safe space?
So the Big Purple Barn is an animal sanctuary that takes care of different barn animals. They currently have 15 horses and ponies, 5 sheep, 5 goats, and 2 pigs. And I feel like it's a safe space for me because it was one of the places where my sister started coming out of her shell because she was kind of shy. And we eventually, over the years, we've made good friends with the owner of the barn, and they've been really supportive since I started coming out.
And what have you and your parents done to start your own community?
Well, first, when I started coming out in the second grade, me and my parents, while we did do research on trying to find more kids like me, we also tried looking for more groups for people like me. We did find a few, but there were none local, and tried to fix that by creating the Bowie Area Non-Binary and Transgender Youth Alliance.
And what kind of things do you do when this alliance meets?
Well, really, we just hang out. Sometimes we paint rocks. We've made pins. and sometimes we just talk.
What kind of things do you talk about?
Really just life.
Yeah, like I feel like it's important, even if you don't think of yourself as transgender or non-binary, to like have a space where once in a while you can just talk about life with people who are kind of in your shared space, but also different from you.
Yes.
Along with your parents, who else has supported you along your journey?
My sister, who's been a big advocate since I started coming out, along with my second and third grade math and reading teachers, and then also my chosen family, which include my theater family, my BroadwayCon family. BroadwayCon is a Broadway convention where Broadway theater nerds and people who enjoy Broadway musical theater just come and hang out.
My mom and I have been wanting to go for some time, and the way I described it to my mom was 4,000 people in one place, and every single one of them could break into spontaneous song and dance at any moment. Have you been to this convention multiple times?
Yes, I have.
Oh, my mom's gonna love hearing about it. And any specific memories from BroadwayCon?
There's so many. One time I actually met Jen Kalila.
Jen Colella?
Mhm.
I know who that is. And did you ever like go on stage at any of the panels or anything?
I've been in the audience for the panels. The only panel I've really been on was the cosplay contest.
It's where you like dress up and they like, and what was your costume? It better not be one of those awful CGI fur monsters from the Cats movie.
No, it wasn't.
Was it?
One year I did Audrey 2 and Seymour. I was in my wheelchair back then. I used to have and use a wheelchair to get around for long distances.
So would you kind of say that you identify with both the non-binary community and the physical disabilities community?
Yes.
Okay, and if the person-eating plant was one costume, what was the other one?
So Audrey 2 was actually sculpted out of clay, and it was put into a giant pot, and it was strapped onto the handles of the wheelchair. And I was dressed as Seymour. And then another year recently, I did Ursula
from The Little Mermaid.
So, and the way my Ursula costume worked, the tentacles were too wide to put the seatbelt on of my wheelchair. So my mom, for the cosplay contest, strapped two of the tentacles to the handles of my wheelchair, and I had the rest of the tentacles in my lap. And the tentacles that were strapped to the wheelchair were my only real seatbelt. And as I was pushing my wheelchair towards where the cosplay contest was being held, I was driving on carpet. I don't know what I actually drove over, but my wheelchair just like toppled forward. So I was sitting.
Did you get hurt?
I wasn't hurt. I didn't get hurt, thankfully.
Yeah. What do you like to do in your spare time besides obviously cultivate your interest in musical theater?
Well, of course, anything that has to do with theater. And then I read a lot. What
books? Any favorite books?
One of my favorites are Ron Chernow's biography of Hamilton.
Yeah. Which
is actually what Lin-Manuel Miranda was reading, and where he got the idea to write the musical Hamilton.
You know, I have a friend named Molly who came on this podcast a couple months earlier, and she does a terrific Lin-Manuel Miranda impersonation. So what are your plans for the future? I plan to become a queer rights activist. Do that already? Yes, but I also want to become a famous professional Broadway actor and use that fame to help move my message and to help tell my message about how I feel about queer rights. Well, that's very important, and you do that because we need that. And so what is your advice for other kids who might be wondering about their identity or wanting to make change in the world? My advice to other kids is to just be yourself. And if you're striving to do it,
You want to go straight into it, not just like shyly try to go into it and quit halfway through. Life can be scary and hard, so just jump right into it. Just jump right into life and do what you want to do and just be you.
So in your everyday life, what are the kinds of things that you do every day just to encourage your cause and just help get the world around you into the right direction and create a bit of a safe space for yourself? What do you do every day that furthers that?
When someone misgenders me, I will correct them. When someone calls me by my birth name, I correct them and tell them, this is the name I go by. These are my pronouns I go by. Please respect that. If it's someone who I'm just meeting, or especially if it's someone who I'm just meeting, I'll be understanding. I'll understand that, okay, this person's just met me. They probably don't know. But when it's someone like I know and I've known for a long time, it makes me quite and a little bit angry.
Have you had to quit friendships because people misgender you too many times? Like you just decide, I've had enough of this, I'm not going to be your friend anymore?
As far as I can remember, I don't think I've any friendships. Yeah, not that I can remember. I haven't cut any friendships.
Well, your bravery is worthy of so much celebration, and you are changing the world just by being you, and I admire you for that.
Thanks.
And it was so nice talking to you today. I really enjoyed this interview.
It was nice to talk to you today, too.
Okay, bye.
Oh, bye.
Xander has been able to find support from their teachers and friends in school, from their sister at home, from the owners of the Big Purple Barn in Bowie, and from their Broadway Con family. I like musical theater too, so talking about Broadway Con was probably my favorite part of the episode. Many of the people who have come on the podcast have spoken about the value of being connected with people who support them, uplift them, and build them up. Xander has taken steps to help create such a community for themselves and others, finding purpose in paying it forward, and I know they will continue to pay it forward and help many people feel safer being themselves. I'd also like to take this opportunity to encourage our listeners to register to vote. The 2022 midterms are coming up in November, and there is so much on the line. Your voice and your vote are needed. If you'd like to recommend someone you know who is trying to make a difference to be on the show, or if you are someone trying to make a difference and would like to be on the show, email us at generationchange@leofinelli.com. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenChangeWithLF. That's at GenChangeWithLF. Follow and review wherever you get your podcasts, and just share this with your friends and others. Generation Change with Leo Finelli is hosted by Leo Finelli, executive produced by Julie Finelli, and edited by Nick and Leo Finelli. Our original music was composed and performed by Leo Finelli. Thank you so much for listening.